Hi everybody, welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. I got an email from Jenny Majestic, subject line Independence, Missouri. And in the email, hey, I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions about moving to Independence. We will most likely be moving there by the end of the year. Do you homeschool your kids? How are the members? How are the wards? Thanks for any info you can share. I've watched a lot of your YouTube videos, smiley face. I'm out here by the Redlands Temple, Jenny Majestic. All right. Well, thank you for the email, Jenny. I've received a number of other emails just like yours, and I thought I might as well just make a video and share what I know so far. We've only been living here for about 2 months, so it's not like we know a whole lot, but there are some things that I can share. Before I do, I want to remind everybody that there is no general call out to move to Jackson County, Missouri. There is a misconception that the entire church is going to come to Jackson County, Missouri before the second coming. That's not true. Go to my spreadsheet called Quotes, Common Misconceptions. That point has been reiterated time and time and time again by various prophets. Okay, Zion is where you live. We need members of the church throughout the entire world. Zion is going to fill the world. Okay, so I've heard stories before about Jews that want to immigrate to Israel because they can legally do that. I think it's called the Law of Aliyah or something like that. If you're Jewish, you can immigrate to Israel. And sometimes people become overzealous or overly excited and they just move without a plan. And then they end up in trouble because they don't have a job or whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, that happens here as well. I haven't heard any stories here in Independence, but I've heard of some stories up near Adamonte where people will just show up and think that miraculously things are just going to work out. So don't do that. If you decide to move to Missouri or somewhere here in the Midwest, pray about it. Make sure that you're receiving promptings and that it's right for you. And then make sure that it's practical, that you can support yourself if you do that, because things will probably not just miraculously work out. So make sure that you're able to take care of yourself and your family. With that being said, we really like living here in Independence. I'm going to share everything that we've experienced so far and all my everything that I've noticed. This is a picture that I took our first day in this new house. There just happened to be a stake activity that day for the youth, and so we brought our girls to the stake center, and there was this beautiful sunset. This was basically the first picture that I took after we moved here. And for me, it was a little sign that, that things were going to be okay. The move went pretty well, but it was still stressful. And the reason why we moved here is because originally I'm from Utah, and we moved to Arizona because we thought that I was going to take a job there, or while I was there, I was preparing to take a job. It didn't happen. I joined the Army. We lived in Texas. Then we decided to come back to Arizona. And the second time that we were in Arizona, me and Jenica talked about it, and we wanted to have a homestead, but there was nowhere that was affordable. So we started looking at Texas, but then we broadened our search to Missouri and Kansas and Arkansas and Oklahoma and other places. And we just settled on Kansas. So we found a nice little homestead, and it was really great, but the house was small and our kids were growing and our girls turning into teenagers. And for the sake of our family, we had to get a bigger house. And by that point, I'd already started my YouTube channel, which is mostly about the Second Coming. And we talk a lot about Independence, Adamonte, Far West, and stuff like that. And so we started looking in the Kansas City area for a house that we could rent. And we found the perfect house. It's the house that we're living in right now. And we just felt good about it, prayed about it. And so we moved. So it's good for the channel, I think. I'd like to be here for if there's any developments in the future, but it's just good anyway. We're in a better situation. So that's why we're here. Okay. Okay. So let me go through my things here. I have a list of things I want to talk about. Yes, we are homeschooling our 2 teenage daughters. we're in this part of Independence that is part of another school district from another city. And the elementary is okay. Like the elementary that our son is going to is totally fine. But what I think is going on here is you have some parents that will take their kids out of school as they get older and not go to the public junior high or high school. And this same thing happened when we were living in Phoenix. We lived in a suburb called Goodyear, which is an upper middle class area. It's nice, but it's kind of the same thing. It seemed like the elementaries were okay, but then a lot of members of the church would pull their kids out of school or out of the public school system and have them go to like a charter school or just homeschool them. And so that's what we're doing here. From what I've heard from people here, Independence School District or the high schools in Independence are better. But with where we live, the area that we live is nice, like the neighborhood, but it's just the school district. And I don't know, maybe it would be different for other people, but for us, we feel like this is the right move. Okay. The ward, it's just fine. I've enjoyed every ward that I've ever been in. The difference for us this time is it's a larger ward. We just came from a small town, and our ward covered a very large area. We had to drive 45 minutes to get to church. Now we only have to drive 5 minutes. So that's really nice. The ward is larger. It's very active. They have a lot of things going on, which is nice. Everyone's been very friendly. We just had a service project today. We had a service project today that was a little bit difficult. One thing about this area, the Kansas City area, is that it's very, very hilly. I've never seen a place like this where there's so many hills, except for when I went to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood here in Missouri. That's where I went to basic training for the Army. The nickname for that place is Fort Lost in the Woods, and that actually happened during one of our field training exercises. We did, in fact, get lost in the woods with the drill sergeant, and we're in this hilly area with our weapons. I had a crew serve weapon. It's like a machine gun that's heavy. Just hiking for not an exaggeration, miles to find our way back to where we were supposed to be. And I remember thinking back then, I don't know if I like this place so much because all these hills. That's when I really started to hate hills in my life. But now I'm back in Missouri, and we were doing this service project where there's this trail, and there's all this brush and branches that needed to be cleared. And unfortunately, they were down like in a valley type area, and we had to drag them up to the street on top of it, a very steep hill. It was a little bit difficult. It was no joke. I'm very tired from that still. But anyway, yeah, I enjoy this ward. I think the wards here are just fine. It seems like the steak is great. And then another question that may be coming to your mind, is this a safe area? And I would say yes. It's not really any different from any other large city with an older suburb. So you usually have the downtown area, and then around the downtown you have the older suburbs. And so they're more dated. They're not these like brand new cities like Saratoga Springs with brand new developments all over the place. It's an older area, but it's nice. If you're familiar with the Salt Lake area, I would compare Independence to probably my hometown of Murray, Utah, or Taylorsville, Midvale. If you took those three cities, it's I feel like Independence is pretty comparable to that. There's nice areas in Independence. There's other places that maybe aren't so great. Some streets that you probably don't want to spend a lot of time on. But overall, I think it's great. There's this shopping center where you have the Costco, and there's a Lowe's and other stuff, restaurants, and it's like new. It's I don't know how new, but it's pretty newly developed, and it's nice over there. So I don't know. In the Phoenix area, I would compare, and you'll have to let me know your opinion because, maybe you disagree, but I would compare Independence maybe to Mesa, Arizona. Mesa is also an old city. It's a suburb of Phoenix. Some parts of it are a little bit more run down, but other parts are nice. So that's how I perceive at the moment Independence. Okay. Um, there is another peculiarity about the Kansas City area. On top of having all these hills, there's also all these potholes all over the place. It's not an Independence problem. It's not a Kansas City problem. It's not a Liberty problem. It's just like this area. There's just potholes all over, whether it's city streets or whether it's the highways. And I looked it up, and it seems like it's just because of the extreme changes in like temperature and with all the rain, and that's another thing that I experienced back in basic training is we experienced every type of weather that there was at Fort Leonard Wood. There was fog, there was rain, there were hot days, there were cold days. I had never seen anything like that in my life, and it seems like that's just what Missouri is like. Um, every place that I've lived, you always have the old timers that'll be like, it's like say in Utah, for example. I remember my great grandma saying, uh, when you come to Utah, if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. But I've heard that same saying in Texas and other places that I visited. It's like everyone says that about where they're from, except for maybe in Arizona. But here in Missouri, that's like actually true. That is like it's true. But yeah, there's potholes, so that's kind of annoying. But it's not. I don't think it's because there aren't funds to fix them. I think that it's just because there's so much extremes in the weather that it's hard to like keep up with them. I think if you know more, let me know in the comments below. But there's that. Let me go through some of these pictures here. So this is downtown Kansas City, and I really like downtown Kansas City. It is gorgeous. There is just all types of architecture there. You can tell that there's a lot of history. It's very updated, and it's just like it's a place that you want to explore. There are so many cool looking restaurants and stores and places. Like I was surprised at how much I like downtown Kansas City. We got to go in a building it's pretty close to downtown, called it's the old, what is it, Kansas City stock exchange, or no, cattle exchange or something like that. And it's just like this old brick building, but inside it's like parts of it kind of feel Art Deco, but it's also modernized. I don't know. There's just a lot of cool things going on with downtown Kansas City. I'm excited to go there and go to some of these places. This is a picture of our backyard. Even though we live in Independence, which is solidly, surrounded by city and suburbs, there's some deer. There were some deer in our backyard just a couple days ago. There was another one that I don't think it's in this picture. There's just this one, but there were two that were in our backyard. If you go even just like a little bit south of Independence, it immediately turns into this kind of semi rural type area. Like there's like farms and homesteads, which kind of surprised me because I thought that there were just a lot of other suburbs around, and that it would be a while until you get to the country, but that's not the case. So that's kind of nice. We're still exploring that. And then, of course, one of the benefits living here is the church sites. This is inside the Independence Visitor Center. We were just there today after the service project. I just wanted to relax. And so we went and looked at the Christus, and here's the Temple Lot, which is across the street. That's a really fun place to visit. Here's from the visitor center looking at the Community of Christ Temple. And then here's the visitor center. You can see the Christus inside. This is up on there's the air. Okay, this is part of the Community of Christ Temple. There's this upper area right here where they have what I learned. It's called the labyrinth. I was calling it a maze before. It's not a maze, it's a labyrinth. But there's this really cool view up here where you can see their auditorium, which is like their conference center. And then if you turn around, you have the temple proper, and it's massive. It's really big. So it's really cool up there. I like going up there. And then I can't remember. I think it's about an hour and 20 minutes away. You have Adamondiaman, and I plan on making more trips up there. There's this area that you can come to. That's Tower Hill, but then there's also a valley. I think it's called the Valley Overlook, to like the left of where the camera's facing. So next time we go up there, we're gonna go check out the overlook. And then far west. Again, I can't remember how far away it is, but it's between an hour to like an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. But you have the far west temple site, and you have the cornerstones of that future temple. And then a monument there, just talking about the different things that were revealed in far west, that's in Doctrine and Covenants. And then, of course, we have the Kansas City, Missouri temple. One of my favorite temples of all time. It's probably in my top 3. It's beautiful. The temple grounds are beautiful. This is a picture that we took today. We went up there because we needed to get some garments, and there's a distribution center on the other side of the parking lot. But it's a very nice area. It's a beautiful temple. It's a large temple. Not that there's anything wrong with smaller temples, but I prefer larger temples. And it's gorgeous inside. And thankfully, we were here early enough in the year to see it like this, when these trees were in bloom and had these white flowers. And on top of that, on this particular evening, there was a beautiful sunset going on. I made a video walking around and talking about the endowment, but you can go find that. But this was a magical night just because the trees, they just felt very, very otherworldly and very celestial. And there's a lot of these type of trees here in the Kansas City area. It's gorgeous during the spring. Okay, what's this one? Oh yeah. So here in Independence, it's not too far from the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals stadiums. This is I-70. Interestingly, I-70 keeps going west and it stops in Utah. I'm sure a lot of you already know that, but I never knew that until... Well, I don't think it was until moving to Kansas I realized, oh my gosh, I-70 goes from Utah to Independence. And I like it because the Kansas City Royals, they have this as part of their like logo, a crown. I've done videos about that before, about the Kansas City area and the sports teams, and how you have this kind of theme of the Royals, or you have the Chiefs. A chief is basically like a king of a tribe, essentially. And we know that when Christ comes, this is going to be one of the 2 world capitals, one of the places that Christ rules from. So it's appropriate that when you're driving through Kansas City near Independence, you have this gigantic crown on the south side of the highway. But yeah, so there's my pictures. Had a few other things I wanted to share. So let's see. The temple, church sites. We went to the zoo. There was a thing that we got in the mail where we could come to the zoo this one day for free. So that was perfect because we're kind of tight on money right now. And we went, and the zoo it's a really good zoo. It actually might be the best zoo I've ever been to. There was a really good one in Phoenix. There's like 2 zoos in Phoenix, and one's in the West Valley, and I think it's in Surprise, which is in the West Valley. It's a very large zoo, and that's a good zoo too. But this one, I don't know. The Kansas City Zoo is really good. You also have a theme park here called Worlds of Fun. We've already been to that a couple times. When we lived in Kansas, we would come up here and go to Worlds of Fun. If you like Lagoon, you would like Worlds of Fun. The roller coasters are probably better, I would say. Bigger, better. It's a really good theme park. I'm looking forward to going there this year. They also have Oceans of Fun, which is the like the water park. So, and that's not too far from Independence. So, yeah, I showed you, you had the stadiums, which are not very far at all from Independence. You have Worlds of Fun, which is just north of Independence. In fact, I'm not sure. I don't think it's in Independence, but it's like really close to Liberty. Anyway, you have a mall here. I haven't been to the mall yet, but Independence has a mall. My oldest daughter has gone with this guy that she's dating to the mall, and they seem to have had a good time there. Yeah, and that's actually pretty much it. So we've really enjoyed it. Of course, there's like all these different factors that you have to consider. It's taken some getting used to because it's not like out west. It's a different culture. Sometimes it kind of feels like being in a different country. That's how we felt when we moved to Kansas because the culture is different. It's not bad. It's different. So anytime that you go somewhere that's not really familiar to you, it can kind of feel uncomfortable for a while, but over time you get to be familiar with that area and hopefully you get to love it. Every single place that I've lived, whether it's Utah, Arizona, Texas, Kansas, Missouri, I've loved them all. There's pros and cons to anywhere that you live. I'm trying to get used to all the hills. That's kind of like my big thing right now is the hills. But it's nice being in the big city again, having everything close by, having a lot of selection of stores and things like that. You know, we're currently in this phase where, for me anyway, it's kind of uncomfortable because you don't know where everything is. Like we're feeling pretty familiar with Independence, but the greater Kansas City area we're still exploring, and we've mostly only been over here on the Missouri side. We've only gone to the Kansas side a couple times. But I'm trying to like learn all the like the main streets. I'm already familiar with like the highways here. The highways, you get a hold of that pretty quickly, I think. There are some really, really, really nice areas in the Kansas City area and also here in Independence. And then there's other areas that are just shady, but that's just like any large American city. But we have gone through some really nice areas. We were driving on this road called State Line Road, and it is just gorgeous. The houses over there are just so nice. They're so big. It's a beautiful area. There was another place that we were driving through that's in Kansas City. I can't remember the name of the road, but it was also just big homes, beautiful, gorgeous, mature trees, and just amazing. But then there's definitely shady areas. So, you know, when you move anywhere, just make sure it's not in a shady area. All you have to do is just use your eyes, and you can tell the places that are well kept, you know, in the places that are maybe not so great. You know, it's just common sense. Is there anything else I want to say? No. So my overall review so far is that we're really enjoying this. This was the right move for me and my family. I don't know if we're going to stay here. You know, we have this lease for 12 months. I'd really rather not move again for a while. When moving is very stressful. If this house was ever put up for sale, I would see if we could buy it. I love this house. I love this area. I'm perfectly happy exactly where we're at. But I could also see moving back out to the country, living in a small town, maybe living near far west, maybe Adamonte, or, you know, maybe the Lord has some other plans for us. Maybe we won't even stay in Missouri. I have no idea. But right now, I feel like I can say I would be happy staying here for a long time. It's nice. I like it. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. But that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.